another edition of Rise and Shine. Today we're going to talk about parental involvement with our kids' lives throughout their school years and also even after school, the importance of it. I'm going to open up with a brief prayer. Then we're going to make brief introductions, pause for commercial breaks, and y'all stick with us so you can hear this important subject matter. I'm James Gordon.
I'm Henry Hasid.
And I'm Robert Battle Sr.
Now join me in this word of prayer, please. Heavenly Father, we ask that you please bless this listening audience and bless this panel that we may have information that is fruitful and helpful in everybody's lives. In God's name I pray, amen. Okay, fine folks, when we talk about parental involvement, we basically, many times I think that parents see the need to be involved in their children's life through elementary. You see, when you go to elementary schools, you go to the just for schools, you see the parents there dropping off the kids and staying really closely involved. You move to junior high, move to high school, move to college, and parents become absent. Mr. Battles, how far do you think, I guess since you're going to be more hands-on with parental involvement, let me ask Brother Hasid first.
All right.
How long should a parent be involved in a child's life?
Well, you know, when you look at that age that you were talking about, in the beginning of the child's life, especially from the time of birth to about 7, and I mentioned before how that's a time of teaching. You have to spend that time trying to set a foundation for that child, because if we don't set it between those ages, then whatever foundation, good or bad, that child seems to pull back on that. So by the time they get junior high, then they're going to be looking back at those first primary years. We don't see a lot of times how important it is that when we are training that baby. I've heard some parents they try to get the baby to be joking and stuff like this, and stuff that's really not, baby don't understand, and it actually hurts the child because it doesn't lay the right foundation for that child to reflect back on as they get older.
Well, Brother Battles, at what age have you seen, you've been in and out of schools a lot later, you know, you're a commissioner in Mobile County for the school system. In your travels through the different school systems, what age do you see the biggest void in parental involvement? What age does it start? What do you see that there is involvement at a lower age and then it stops, or do you see that all over is a problem? What do you see?
Well, I do see that it gets to like the middle school where you see a cessation of parental involvement, because you know, there are many challenges today that the parent faced that when we were coming up, they didn't have those obstacles. Mm-hmm. My mother was a stay-home mother. All she had to do was wait on Dad to bring that check.
Yes, sir.
Well, the economic and the social conditions have changed so drastically, but also the educational challenges have increased too. Parental involvement is so important today because you as a parent are your child's first teacher. You're the person who they admire, you're the person who they want to emulate and be like. But more importantly, though, you have to have a distinction between what is your role as a parent and how you should be involved. My baby is 35 years old, but I separate the involvement with my children to let my children know that I'm the parent and they the child. Mm-hmm. Yes, I don't commingle with them on other social things that I feel that are beneath. But at the same time, though, you have to set a standard. The standard, now, let me give you a great example. I have one middle school in my district, at Maine Middle School. When we had the first PTA meeting, we had about 5 parents to attend. So I went to the radio station at Kimmer's Broadcasting, and you got Nikki DeMarks and Amber Harris, and asked them, would they come and adopt me so that we could see if we could get a greater participatory from parents. Mm-hmm. And man, the next meeting we had, Dr. Gordon, we had about 60 parents. And then for the Christmas program, we would have had over 170.
Wow.
So when the parents participate, the child takes a more active role because he sees it's just like you. Mm-hmm. When you feel that you are needed and part of something, you do a better job.
Well, you know, and on that light there, in that light, Robert, I find out a lot of times, you know, we don't see the effect of how this affects the child. When especially in those early years there, when a child see his parents coming, it makes him proud at that age. You know, I know when we get to high school and stuff, we say, hey, no, please don't come to the school. But in his early years, that child want to see his parent there because it has an effect on that child, and that's usually a positive effect when we show that child that we are concerned about them by showing up to PTA meetings and other programs.
You know, Brother Hasid, my baby boy was at Florida High School, and Mr. Fred Marshall called me one day and said, Mr. Bell, your son been getting a little irate there. I said, what you want to do? You want me to handle it, or you want to come handle it? I said, I want to come handle it. So I came to the school. He's smart, boy, but he love to clown and joke. So for the next 3 days, I sat up in this classroom.
Nice.
And the kids started talking about, the man daddy watching here, the man daddy watching here. And boy, even today, we talk about it at 35 years old, he tell me that now he's doing the same thing with his children, see. So parental involvement is essential in developing a child not only the love, affection, but at the same time to put some guidance.
And it's that cultural exchange. Like you said, that's how you pass down your cultural beliefs and your upbringing. Exactly. And I think what you said, going to school, sitting with the child, that's what I always said should have been, you know, you got the Family Emergency Leave Act, you should have a Parental Involvement Act. And the Parental Involvement Act means when your child acts up, you punish the parent. If you punish the parent by suspending them to school, you have less of these outbreaks, and the child wouldn't know that you care, but you're there. You got to be there. The job couldn't fire you, but you're losing money on the paycheck. So you're going to have a little talk with that child. You say, hey, man, got to pay the bills.
Right.
I can't be here 3 days a week with you in school and work 2 days and pay the bill.
You know, when we talk about that area of a parent involvement in that way, I would really like to see that idea put to into some practice, and to see really what is the effect that it would have on our children.
Let me tell you the effect, Mr. Hasid. Yesterday, I got a call from my granddaughter. She said, Granddad, what you doing? I said, well, what I need to be doing? She said, well, I got some good grades. Well, last year, her grades were D's and E's. We had her put into another situation. My son got more involved like I did. And when I went by to see my grandchildren yesterday, I didn't have much money, Dr. Gordon, but I gave her $10. I gave my other grandson $10, and my other granddaughter who didn't do so well, I said, I'm just giving you this for encouragement so I can get her fine. But this girl, Dr. Gordon, had come from D to A. So parental involvement is essential, and it works.
Right. Well, we know that the children are smart enough to do it.
Hold that thought.
Yes,
and we're going to take a break right here because I know our audience don't want to miss that point. And we're going to be right back after these brief commercials. It's tax time. If you're in need of a trustworthy, reliable tax service to prepare your taxes, we are H&H Fast Tax with over 20 years of experience. For the most money in the shortest period of time, come visit us today at H&H Fast Tax at the corner of St. Stephen Road and Catherine Street. Call us at 438-1620.
We'd like for you to join us each Sunday for Rise and Shine with Robert Battles, James Gordon, and Henry Hasid on Fox 10 at 5:30 a.m. each Sunday morning. We'd like for you to join us so that we can provide you with information that will be beneficial to you and to your family.
Welcome back to the show. Today we're talking about the parental involvement in our children's lives and what age should it start and what age should it end. Pretty much Robert, I'm going to throw my 2 cents in, and I see. I'm thinking that you really never end with your parental involvement. You always try to stay a part of your child's life, even if your child is 70 years old. The Parental Involvement Act, Robert Ballas, I'm going to charge you with drafting a bill called the Parental Involvement Act in Alabama. You're going to suspend parents to school with their child if their child's acting up for a major violation. Start off for a day's in-school suspension and move up to 5 days. The parent can be charged with their vacation time, so they may ruin their vacation, but they can't be fired. And let's see if you can get that some momentum, get that drafted, get your folks and your little professional minds out there at the school board to draft a bill or have a lawyer draft it. Then run it up to one of your state senators or state representatives
But do
to
you know
introduce
the
it.
content of the state house there when you're talking about? I think
Republicans and Democrats are
I'm
both
concerned about parental
they
involvement.
both. This is bipartisan.
Bipartisan.
This is a great bill. Doesn't matter who's in power.
All right.
But you got to the first step of a journey. The first success to the big journey is to take the first step.
All right.
So you need to take the first step and draft a bill and get it to one of your senators or representatives and let them try to run it. And if they can't pass it, I mean, we got bills that have been running for 10 years
All right.
that haven't been passed. So at least you can try it. That's a step in the right direction.
Well, on Monday, on Monday, on the 19th, is the celebration of the anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King's birthday.
Yes, sir.
And we plan to be at the inauguration, so we'll have an opportunity to try to speak to some of those representatives. That's a great idea.
So are you committed? You're going to do it?
I'm committed.
Okay, so the Parental Involvement Act, I mean, I'll see if I can see a copy on our next show so we can talk about it. So get it drafted for us right about it.
But there's not one now, as you know.
The kid, are the parents being suspended to school? No, they're not.
Okay.
It's not done anywhere. And if you do it at the state level, it'll probably move nationally because it's got to be a success.
All right.
Okay, if you look, I'm going to lose my vacation time, potentially. Especially if it's a 1-day suspension, I can't lose my vacation time. But if it's a 5-day suspension, if you tell the parent they got to be in class with that child, you're going to lose. They lose vacation time, and the involvement, the parent for not going to the school, the penalty's got to be pretty severe to make them comply with it.
And
but the employer can't fire the person.
But this also may help the suspension. If you're suspending them in school, the child is still learning, which is critical, rather than having them out of the school.
Which is one of the biggest problems we're having. And it's always, and unfortunately, with this racial polarization we're having in our nation lately, it's always said that the Hispanic, the Asian, the African American, Asian American, Hispanic American kid has been suspended more than the European American kid. So let's squash all that. You're not going to kick anybody out of school.
Right.
Whoever their guardian parent is, and be kicked in school. So you can have a few chairs out to the back of the classroom.
And that may be a good learning experience, because they're teaching in the school there, so the parent can learn as well as the child.
But I know the greatest thing that a parent will love to see in their lifetime is their child to be successful.
That's right. I agree with
Now
that.
you say that, Robert Bowles, but then who's buying these $50, $100 video games for the kids
Okay.
that's got realistic murdering and realistic violence? Who's letting their child stay up at night watching Jerry Springer or some of these shows like Cops and Snapped? Who's responsible for this child?
Right.
Yeah, Empire is a soap opera. It's an African American soap opera like General Hospital. That's all it is. Totally. If you look at on the scale of things, it's not much positive going on in that show. It's very sensational and very negative over the whole scheme of things. But at the end of the day, who's responsible for that child's, for the input in that child's, what's going on in that child's mind? Who's responsible, Mr. Bowden?
Well, the parent is responsible.
So you say the parent want to see them graduate,
That's right.
but the parent is not making it positive, setting a positive environment for them to graduate to be successful. The parent wants to see them successful, but the parents say, play around in this scum and you will be successful. Is that what you're saying?
The most important thing is to keep a check on what your children do. Like Dr. Gordon was talking about, these games, and all of us have children who are impacted. But I did have an opportunity to visit Dr. Gordon's office one day and met this young man who is a computer repairman. And what we're going to be introducing to after this show in the future is different types of things of how you can get involved educationally, so that instead of watching the game or murder and all those things, he has some things that can teach kids how to do mathematics, how to do science, and those are the things that help boost up the average.
Mr. Battles, and I'll see what I'm sorry for cutting you, but there's plenty of positive things out there. We've got to act like we were saying, say, well, we don't have those things in on TV or to watch, but at the end of the day, you got to supervise your children. You got to know what they're doing, and you got to plant those positive seeds, and you got to keep planting those positive seeds. And the way the good conquers evil is to keep feeding the good.
Well, you know, like we saying the parent involvement and parent responsibility. But I agree with Robert that I don't really know a parent that don't want the child to be successful. Now, it's another debate on whether they do the things to help make the child successful there. That's another issue. But there's a saying that I always say, and we'll come back to your disagreement, but there's a saying that says that between the age of birth and 7 that you should teach that child. And between 7 and 14 you should discipline that child. And we're talking about the parent right now.
But you see, you and Robert, missing the point.
No,
the point is, if a parent is trying to say, I want this child to be successful, then the parent darn well need to be doing things to make sure that child's successful. And what if you're saying from the age of birth and 14, whatever information you allow that child to have access to is you allow that child to have access to. You are the parent, be the parent. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to be the parent, be the parent. There's no way that you can let me have a video game. My parents would not let me have a video game called DEFCON 5 and watch me play it all day. That would not be acceptable in my parents' household in any day and time. There's no way my parents would let me sit up and watch a show talking about how to get away with murder, and I'm going to sleep on that, feed my mind with that filth and garbage day in and day out. There's no way. So you can say, what you're saying is, I say I want to be successful in business, but I'm going to sit on my little fat tail and wait for the business to come to me. I'm not going to market. I'm not going to show up on time. I'm not going to do anything that there's a pathway to be successful. And the path has to be followed. Follow the yellow brick road. The yellow brick road says, watch positive things, feed positive information, do positive things, read, research, be involved in the child's life. Positive equals success. So you're saying, I want my child to be successful, but then you're doing things that don't feed into the dialogue.
Well, let's look at this, especially in the Mobile County area. We know our graduation rate is somewhere around 50%. I understand.
No, we just had to release on Wednesday.
Is it increasing?
It has increased to 81%.
81%. Well, great. I applaud that.
We had the superintendent, Ms. Martha P., introduced at Murphy High School, and we met last week with the legislators to inform them of the significant increase in the graduation rate. And but at the same time,
Mr. Battle, can you bring the report, get that report, the graduation rate? Because when these government agencies, and since you're in a government agency now, I'm suspect.
All right.
But when they say what the unemployment level is, do you realize when they talk about the unemployment level for the nation, they're talking about those who are seeking unemployment benefits. If I'm unemployed and I'm not seeking unemployment benefits, then I'm not counted. So I want to make sure that we look at everybody. If Brother Asif says we got 1,000 freshmen at this school in the 9th grade, by the time they get to the 12th grade, I got half that many, then I don't want any voodoo math in the middle. 1,000, 500 equals 50%. Not well, this person did this or this person did that. So let's make sure we're calling an acorn an acorn.
I agree with you 100%. And I don't guess you'll find no one who will be more relevant to your point of view than me. and try to make sure that the empirical data really reflect the graduation rate, because what disturbs me too when we continue to talk parental involvement is that every day, every night, we're looking at TV or reading the newspaper about kids who disproportionately being behavior problems.
Yes, sir.
In the schools, they're fighting. At homes, they're fighting. In the neighborhood, they don't have accessibility to quality things. Let me tell you, I talked to you about helping me with one of my schools who has a project that we're going to work on. And the purpose of that is the same thing as parental involvement. Is to show our children that we have a rich history and that we are somebody, and that
School pride.
and Dr. Gordon, I was looking at TV the other day because I did an interview on Channel 10 about the Selma movement. And so when I was looking at the TV, the author came on, Melissa Harris Parrott, and was explaining why she did certain things and what was her purpose. She said in the Selma movement, she said people just don't go look at it. They say, oh, they were great civil rights, they stood up. But rather take some out of, she said, I put the 4 little girls that were murdered in the 16th Street Baptist Church for a special reason. So African American girls could see what they were doing prior to that death. What they were doing prior to that death was, so you know what, say Coretta Scott King was an outstanding black female. I want to be like her.
Yes, sir.
It showed Dr. Martin Luther King and his whole troop like we are. He was giving strategy, but he said, well, James God, what do you think? Hassie, what do you think?
So what you're saying is we got, I think, in the black and white community, to have a positive role model in the school is paramount. To have a parent involved throughout their life is paramount.
That's right.
And at the end of the day, everybody needs their mentors to look up to.
And I would say we have communities, whether regardless of the racial makeup, and I think besides the parental involvement, we need the community involvement into these schools. Because a lot of times when we say parent, then we're talking about the one who's got that particular child in school. But the community is also got to be involved. And in a lot of schools around town, private or otherwise, they are, and the community is involved. The community supports those schools that's in the community.
You know, I'd like to conclude my participation this morning by citing a veteran civil rights leader who just passed, Mr. Noble Beasley. Mr. Noble Beasley, who was my godfather, gave me what I consider to be the solution. He said, Robert, he said, there are 3 ways that you bring about change: money, numbers, and violence. Well, money, we just don't have a lot of that. Violence will cause you a significant problem, because even in the tradition of Dr. King, nonviolence was the way that he made significant change. But he said numbers. So if we could increase the numbers of parents who get involved in their child's education and their child behavior, we're going to see some dramatic changes.
Well, I agree with you on part of that. The numbers, we do have the numbers, and we do have to get involved. But just like numbers, we're not involved. It's just like money.
That's right.
The money we have, we just don't use it the right way. The numbers we have, we just don't use it the right way. If the numbers were used the right way to vote, to voice their opinion, to make sure they put school commissioners on board, that gives a damn, it's going to take care of the kids. If they use their money to support businesses in your community, that's going to lift the community up. The schools we got in the county, we got banners of support from businesses all around the community. And some of the other schools, we don't have the banners. So why don't we have the banners? Well, maybe because you're taking your business to a county school district, and they got money to buy the banners. If you took your money to a local business, you could charge him for buying a banner. Say, look, I was talking to a few of my parents at Williamson, and 20 of us came to you last year. We need you to buy a banner to support our field house, to support our stadium. Guess what that businessman gonna do? He's gonna buy 2. He's gonna buy 2 because he knows the numbers are there.
That's right.
The parents are telling me.
That's
So
right.
that's the
Great
numbers,
point.
and that's the money.
Great
So
point.
we got it.
Well, I would say,
So what you're saying, Doctor, is don't be misled that the money and the numbers are
There. They're not being used.
but we're not being used properly.
Not being used.
I-
Not being used properly.
Dr. Gordon, I have to give it to you. That was a great old. That was you educated me this morning. I'm on the show.
Well, I think we all educate each other today. I see him give you a couple of thoughts. I'm gonna get one more closing thought. We're gonna wrap it up.
Well, I would just like to say that I would definitely encourage more parental involvement in more community. I would encourage our businesses, whatever amount of involvement, how little, how big it is. I think that doesn't matter as much as getting involved. And a lot of times when you get involved in things that you hadn't been involved in, once you're involved in it, you really find out how good it is, and it's going to be hard to take your involvement away, once you get involved.
All right, Dr. Gordon.
Now, I want to tell you guys two things. First of all, don't feel bad when your child brings a math equation or something that you don't understand. Understand when it's social studies or when it's science, many times it requires reading and rereading and rereading until you get it. And if you got to read something 5 or 10 times, many people are that way. Mm-hmm. But you think you get mad because you remember this brother Hasib who looked at it one time and got it for the rest of his life. Well, me and Brother Battle's got to read it 10 times to get it. So don't be upset when you got to repeat yourself or reread it. In order to help your kids, you got to get involved with the kids. You got to tell the kid, look, it's not a problem, Johnny, if you don't get it the first time. Let's keep working at it. Many parents get frustrated because the level of math that the child is learning is far advanced than what they learned. But it's in the textbook, Mom and Dad. Child I met in Greenville, Alabama. Mother and family moved to Huntsville, Alabama. Well, they called me last night. Kid's 12 years old. He says, Dr. Gordon, I got a little math problem. His father told him how the thing worked. It's actually a stepfather. And he was saying that he didn't understand how the stepfather got it that way. But the equation was x over 3 plus 10 equals 15. So being a lower end algebra problem, many people can look at that and get the answer really quick. But in order to help our kids out, and in order to help the teacher out, you got to show the child how to get there, the steps. And when you break it down to the steps, like I helped the child last night, it made sense to him. Khan Academy is one of those places. K-A-H-N Academy. It may be .org or .com. But Khan Academy is a website that can teach lessons from kindergarten to college. This guy put it together, and I think with the help of Bill Gates and whatnot, they kept it free. On that note, we want to wrap this show up for parental involvement. I think we all agree that it's important to stay involved in our kids' life.
Their next meal could come from you.
We'd like for you to